Alright, let's look at this setup that I got here. It's not very difficult, it's not a very complex scene. Basically what I've done here is I took two spotlights, and then obviously I got the backdrop back there, but I've got two spotlights going on. I've attached, or I should say parented, these white planes. Basically why they're white is because I got a white surface shader on there to simulate a light board, and that's what creates a lot of reflections on this piece of geometry here. As far as the settings on my lights go, they're just spotlights, but I've went down to the mental ray tab and checked off the area light attribute, and then what that's going to do is turn it into a spotlight with area light shadows. And that's just the same thing going on up here, it's a duplicate. As far as my overall scene goes, to create some more reflections, I've added this sphere with custom made texture applied to it. These are all built-in textures with just a repeated pattern around it. Those are used to create some subtle reflections on the Bluetooth headset itself. Let's see, I'll try to get out a simple render and show you what I mean. Oh, let's see, that's way too big. Let's do this whole front piece right here, and I'll show you where those highlights are showing up from. Alright, so you can see the highlights coming along this edge here. Now I'm going to re-render this, and I'm going to take off that texture on the environment sphere, and I'm going to show you the difference. Let's see here. We'll just delete that and come back to where we were. Back in and re-render. Alright, so let's take a look here. May not be able to see a huge difference because of the screen recording, but we'll see what happens. You can see what it done there, yeah. The first render is a little bit brighter. There's a small little bit of reflection going on right there. And let's see. Like I said, it's really subtle, but it adds a lot to it. But let's see. Let's talk about the materials that I got going on here. All these are just normal mental ray materials. There's nothing special about them. If we take a look at my hyper shade, the only really complex one that I have on there is for the LED. That required a lot of different maps. Let's take a look at it real quick. If you take a look at what I got here, you see my little node network I got going on. I took a ramp material and applied it to a Lambert shader. Oh no, never mind, I changed that to a blend. My bad. Applied that to a blend shader to simulate the LED lights, and basically what that ramp is going to be doing, I have it set to radial, which will create that circular pattern that's going on, and then I've got these two black or darker colors here to make it look like the LED is not illuminating the whole thing, like there's two lights in there that brightens it up, which adds another little effect, so subtle effect I should say. And then to add a little bit more to it, I threw a bump pattern. This is just a built-in texture inside of Maya. It's just the bulge. Threw that on, and then I connected all these into a layered shader, which what this layered shader does is taking that ramp or that bulge texture and applying it to where it should be. And what that's going to do is it's going to create this grid pattern, and where the bump is, where those two, where the bump is, you're going to see deep down where there's these black lines, which makes it look like it's really thick there. So when the light illuminates through it, it makes it look thicker, so that it's harder for it to penetrate the plastic, I guess I should say. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's see, let's do this here. Okay, didn't let it finish render, but you can see where these lines are going, where these little indentions are. they're a lot darker than they normally would be, and that wouldn't be the case if I hadn't applied that layered texture onto this and made those lines darker. That just adds a little another subtle effect to it that will bring it out and make it a lot different than what you normally see. And to get the illuminated look to it, I just threw those that ramp material into the incandescence spot on the blend shader. And really, let's see, like I said, everything else is just normal. There's really nothing special going on here. I didn't really take the time, but I could have created like a cage mesh to put here for the earpiece. I just kind of put that off because you can't see it anyway, and it would have just been a waste of time. And as far as these textures go, there's a Motorola logo that I made. There's one here, but for some reason it's not showing up no matter what I do. So that's basically the rundown of what I got going on here. Oh, the backdrop is just a blend material applied to that, and I used a custom ramp texture to isolate the reflections because I didn't want the background to reflect this environment. So what I did was I made this entirely black, so the reflection would be black and it wouldn't show up, and then all this is white, so it kind of reads like this is going to be the most reflective part, and up here is not going to have any reflection at all. I hope that kind of helps with anybody that's really looking in to do some product renders or anything of that nature. If you have any questions, just let me know.